Welcome to my channel, Philly. I am joining you in a different way today. As you can probably tell by my dress up here, I just came from the lake. I'm visiting with my sister and her family at Lake Wallenpaupack in Pennsylvania. And I just came up from the dock. It's a gorgeous day here at the lake, but I did want to make sure and share a really good recipe. It's one that actually means a lot to me because it has become a family favorite here, not only with my immediate family, but also with my sister and her family, and it is called corn pie. But if I have to be honest, I feel like it should be called Jersey corn pie because I feel like it's the best. It's at its perfection with Jersey sweet corn, with New Jersey sweet corn. So definitely the corn will shine in this dish. So what you'll want to do is get the best sweet corn you can come across. And if you hear a little bit of noise during the stream, please know that it is lake life here, and there is a backhoe or a front loader that keeps going back. So I actually closed the windows here to try to keep down some of the noise. So my apologies about that, but that's just how it is, right? You know, it's a work week and people are doing what they need to do and workers are doing what they need to do. So anyway, I'm super excited. I got this recipe from a really good friend of mine's husband, and first of all, Mike is a great chef. He does great home cook. He's cooks really well. He loves trying new things. And I'm trying to remember how long he's had this recipe, but years ago when we were still living in New Jersey, we went over there for dinner and he made corn pie for us and we'd never had it. And oh my goodness, you can tell that it has left an impression because it has now become a beloved dish with my family. And so today it will not be Jersey corn. I am in PA, in Pennsylvania, but I did get sweet corn because their sweet corn is pretty good. Even though I live in Philly, I still think Jersey sweet corn is the best. But I have some local PA sweet corn. I've already taken it out of its peels and husks and everything. So it's set to go. And it's actually quite a simple recipe. And if you ask me what it's most like, it's kind of like a corn quiche because it's very eggy. So the ingredients that we'll be needing, by the way, the recipe will be listed below in the description, so be sure to check that out. But really, it involves a pie shell that you can choose to make on your own if you desire. I actually am not making the pie shell, especially because it's a gluten-free pie that I will be using, a pie shell I'll be using today. My sister and my niece are both gluten-free, and so I want them to be able to enjoy it. You could make this, I have before just poured the filling in a dish that's greased, and it could be a crustless corn pie, but I'll tell you, the crust is such like an important part of the pie that if you are gluten-free, try to find, they're usually in the frozen aisle. If your store has some gluten-free items, they might have a gluten-free crust. So I'll be getting those out of the freezer in just a minute. In fact, you know what? Let me grab those right now. There we go. So the ones I've used many times are called Wholly Gluten-Free by Wholly Wholesome Bake at Home. So that is the ones I'll be using today, and those are the ones I've used in the past. So both of them will be gluten-free today. In fact, I'm just going to, while we're chatting, I'm going to get this peeled off and removed. But the ingredients are quite simple, I will have to say. They include, of course, you've got your sweet corn, and you could use frozen corn. I've never done that myself. My only thing I'd be concerned about is the moisture. So I might suggest if you're going to use, a frozen corn is maybe thawed out ahead of time and really get any of that moisture out of it. Because I wouldn't want it to make, your pie a little soupy. So there are 2 pie shells here that I will be using. I'm just going to they have like a wrap on them. So I'll make sure these are set to go. It won't take us long to get everything mixed up. So there's one, get this one ready. I've used these pie shells before. These are really nice pie shells. They are not only tasty, they have a great texture. Honestly, very pleased with these pie shells. So if you see them in your store, do try them, and you might have something else. But as I mentioned, I just came down from the dock. We were out, my sister and I, watching the lake, watching the dogs go in the water. I wasn't going in the water myself, but definitely getting some sun and reading some magazines and having a great lake day. So back to the ingredients. We have pie shells that you can or may not make yourself. We've got sweet corn. We have cheese, and I'm going to talk about the cheese in a little bit when it comes time to putting it in. And we have heavy cream. So heavy cream is really the key ingredient besides the corn that makes this very rich and yummy and has a wonderful texture. I do have milk here, and I'll explain that in a little bit. It's just a little hack I do so that I don't have to buy more than one of these big things of cream when I'm making 2 pies. And then usually I do add just a small amount, a tablespoon of finely chopped onion. You honestly could use shallot. For me, I use a yellow or white onion because it's going to say down below yellow onion, just because that way I don't really want it to stand out. So a red onion or a shallot, that color, I want it to kind of all be actually the same color, to be honest, with the cream and the cheese and the white or yellow corn. So, and then lastly, besides, of course, the cheese, we've got salt, and that's really it. Like, it's super simple and comes together pretty quick. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this corn off of the husk here, or cob, not husk, the cob here. And I will say the hack I use if I'm home is I have one of those tube pans that you make a bundt cake in, or it has like the thing in the middle. And if you get that out and you stand your corn on end like that, it is perfect for slicing all around your corn, and it all falls into the tube pan. It is a great hack I saw. I don't know if it was TV or the internet, and it's what I do because I have one of those pans. Here at the lake, we don't have so much fancy stuff. So what I gathered, because I had heard about this hack, if you don't have the tube pan, is just get any kind of bowl. This happens to be a bowl that was easy for me to find. And plus I liked that it had quite a bit of range to catch those kernels, because they do want to go away. And then some sort of bowl, smallish, but you could actually even use a regular cereal bowl as long as it can fit the bottom. And I'm just flipping it upside down. And I can tell right now that it's going to be pretty, pretty sturdy there. And then what you do is you take your corn. I see some silks that didn't get off. You plop it in the middle, and then you just slice down the side. And what's wonderful is the corn usually, or at least more often than not, stays in the bowl. So like, how great is that? Because I find if I'm trying to take corn off the cob, especially raw corn that has not been cooked, if I try to do that on like a cutting board, oh my goodness, it is shooting everywhere. And you're just running around gathering the corn that has gone usually off of the counter unless you're facing a wall. So that becomes quite problematic. So look at that. How easy was that? So the first one's already done. I'm going to do both of the other ones in the same manner. I'm just going to twirl this around so that the next corn on the cob can fall on the other side. So if you are just joining me for the first time, I usually stream, but since I was at the lake, I did not stream because I wouldn't have been able to, I would have had a very bumpy, what does my son call it? Fritz, on the fritz, glitchy, there's a name, buffering, lots of buffering because the signals aren't great back here. So I tried it once. We did actually, if you want to see the stream, it actually was great recipes. We were doing the viral ramen hacks and recipes that were on TikTok, and we were trying them out. And the recipes were great. The video quality, just not so much. It just never is smooth. And so this is a way I could make the video, and then I will, be able to give it a couple quick edits and then drop it. And so that all my followers, not so many, but maybe that'll change, you never know. But for any of my followers can then check it out, and new followers, hopefully. So this, I think this is great if you, because I've never actually done this here at the lake, because I make it here every time I come, since they didn't have one of those bundt pans. But now that I know this simple hack of just turning over a bowl, like, that is awesome. By the way, so I'm going to be doubling the recipe because I'm making 2 pies. So we are going to want about 3 cups of corn. So usually I get about a cup of corn per ear. So now I can take this out. There we go. And I would say I have about a cup, about 3 cups of corn. So, the thing I love about this recipe is it's pretty easy. Besides simple ingredients, it's also easy because, like, I found over the years, I just sometimes assemble it different ways. So what I found works best for me is usually to, I divvy the corn up once I've cut it into the pie shells, and then when I make the custard mixture with the cheese, then that's when I do that. Although, you know what? I'm thinking out loud. The last time I did that, I feel like all the cheese was kind of in one spot. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little mixing of the cheese. So we get a nice bundle here within it. Now I'm using 2 cheeses for my recipe. Oh, that's a little more. I want to get them even. I'm using 2 cheeses. And you know what I'm going to do here? Because you know how, like, sometimes the kernels kernels stay together. I'm actually going to separate them because I really want all the little corniness to find its own space. Fun fact, one of my nieces, nickname for my son Matthew, is Cornelius. And that has just been a love name that since he was little and she was little, that I'm not even sure why or how it started, but that is a fun fact. Cornelius. So even though they're older, she still calls him that sometimes. All right, so I'm just divvying this up and I'm breaking up those corn kernels because I don't want them to stick all together. I want them to separate. And then I'm going to try something new, and I'll let you know in the comments if it works out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put some of the cheese in throughout the corn, and the rest of the cheese is going to go in the custard mixture. Now I'm using 2 different cheeses. I'm going to use 1 cheese in one pie and another in the second. And basically the cheese that's usually called for is a cheddar, a sharp cheddar cheese. And that's what I've usually used. But I love flavor and I love bite. So in one of them, I'm actually going to be doing, so I have a sharp cheddar, an aged cheddar here. But regular cheddar would be fine. And you could use yellow. The one that I was getting was actually white. I know I've talked about similar colors, but it's yellow and white corn. And then this is a pepper jack, but it's actually special because it actually had, because I wanted some heat to it. It has habanero, jalapeno, and there was one other spicy pepper that's in there. And there was some red pepper in there. So this one I tasted, it's really nice spice. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of toss it with the corn a little bit, because what I found happened the last time I made it was it just kind of, what's the word? It just kind of all was in one area, like it was a layer of cheese, and it tasted great. So it's not that it tasted bad, but I actually didn't want that. I wanted it to be more incorporated throughout so that you got cheesiness all different places, not just in one layer. And I think I had maybe sprinkled the cheese on top, or maybe I added it to the custard. So I'm just going to purposely do it a little bit different just to try to fix that. Okay. The rest of the cheese, I think what I'll do is I will sprinkle on top. This is just me doing it this way. You don't have to be fussy like this, but I think I'll sprinkle it on top after I pour in the custard. So now for the custard. I'm going to do this so I don't forget that the spicy cheese is here, the regular aged cheese is there. So for the custard, super simple. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get 6 eggs into this large container. 6 eggs. Get these out right here. Get those cracked open. That's going to be messy, isn't it? So we got 1. Now, if it's just 1 pie, it would be 3 eggs. But since I'm making 2 pies, I need 6 eggs. And these are local eggs too. So with this, you can actually use a lot of local products at where you live. It could be local cheese, milk. The only thing that might not be local is the cream, because I think it usually tends to come from a bigger distributor. You can tell by these really orange yolks that they are those, I don't know what you call it, like cage-free eggs. Okay, and you see I'm doing it in a separate container, number 1, to make sure I don't have any bad eggs, and number 2, because in case I get shell in, it also makes it easier to get out. All right, so there I have my 6 eggs, and I realized I forgot to get a whisk out. So let me put this over here. Let me get myself a whisk. I'll get that stuff out later. Now, one thing that happens a lot on my streams is there's a lot of noise. So at home, I do have a whisk that's covered in, you know, like a little bit of rubber, so it makes it much softer. It's good for nonstick pans. So there's going to be a little bit of noise. So let me lift this up just to get these broken up. I'm not trying to get a ton of air in here. I'm just trying to get them broken up. And at this point is when I would be adding a tablespoon, but for 2 pies, 2 tablespoons of finely chopped yellow or white onion. Okay, I'm going to add my salt per pie. It would be, get that out. It would be a teaspoon per pie. I've got some kosher salt, my favorite kind. So 1, 2, get that back mixed in. And then I'm adding my heavy cream. The heavy cream that goes in here, it's per pie, it's 1 1/4 cup. And this is where my hack comes in. In here are 2 cups of heavy cream. And so what I do is, instead of buying a whole nother container or one in a big one and then having this cream left over, I just prefer to be done with it, right? So, so this is I already know that this one is 2 cups. So for the extra cream, which would be a 1/2 cup, after I'm done with this, I'll pour some whole milk, or any milk really, into here, swish it around to get some of the creaminess out to make it a little richer, and then I'll just add that. Okay, so I'm adding my cream. Like I said, this is 2 cups in here, or a pint. And give it all of its goodness. Now, if you notice that you don't have pepper in there, not that it's anything opposed to pepper, I think it's just trying to keep a lot of the flavors pure. You certainly could add black pepper if you wanted, or even white pepper so you wouldn't see it. That would be an option. I don't find that it really needs anything. It's really delicious on its own, to be honest. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of milk, whole milk, to my cream. I know this is going to seem really silly, but this is just what I do. And I'm going to give it a little bit of shake. All right. I'm going to add it. Now, it's funny. Every time I make this pie, I always end up thinking the same thing. There ends up being really more custard than pie space. So I probably don't even need to add that extra 1/4 cup, just to be honest, unless your pie pans are bigger, especially if you're making your own pie. So I'm going to fill this up the best I can, and whatever's left, I'll save for maybe a frittata tomorrow. So I'm just going to add, pour in, make it even. Oh, I've already preheated my oven to 400. The oven's here. As a lot of you that watch me do my streams, I use a convection oven, but this one is not that's here. Well, let me try adding that cheese, and then we'll see if I have any more room. The thing that always makes me nervous, because these are so full, is I just don't want to have it sploosh over, you know what I'm saying? Let me get this cheddar. I'm really excited because I haven't used this specific cheddar in here, this sharp aged cheddar, so I'm very excited about the cheddar too. And the spice, it's all good. Okay, and then this I'll just put on. There we go, all cheesed up. And let me see how this is going to be carrying. Oh yeah, you know what, I'm not adding any more because I'm afraid I'm going to spill. So I'll just save this. I'll make a nice little omelet or frittata. Okay, so I'm going to carefully get these into the oven and bake it at 400. Oh, and I should tell you the time. Of course, it is below. At 400 for 10 minutes. And then we're going to reduce it to 350 for 35 minutes. So 400 for 10 minutes, and then reduce it to 350 for 35 minutes. So I will see you after that. All right, so after being in the oven for 10 minutes at the higher heat and then lowering and having the quiche in the oven for 35 minutes at the lower heat, I checked them and they both were too jiggly. So I'm going to take the other one out in just a second because it was even a little jigglier than this one. But I don't know if you're not going to be able to see, but basically it's okay for your quiche to shimmy a little because, it's not dense like crust. But if it's wiggling, I don't even know how to describe it. If it's wiggling it, look in the middle. When you move the, gently move the rack in the oven, if that middle part is, this is the key. If that middle part is jiggling faster and more than the rest of the surrounding part of the quiche, that's still not set inside. So, and you want to cook it till it's just set. You don't want to overcook it, but definitely till it's just set. So anyways, what I'm going to do is it should be ready to get the other one out. So I'm going to get the other one out. Just need it a little bit more. Yes, it's amazing. Just that little bit more. And what it needed. This is piping hot. So you can see that with these two pies, let me scooch them over just a little bit. They're almost too much in the sun. Let me see if I can move, maybe if I move it close. No, nope. So there's a skylight right here, which is a little bit making, ooh, some crust fell. It's a little bit making our pies overexposed, I can tell. So hopefully that won't look as bad outside. See it on video, but right now, so right here, this is the one I can tell because I can see the little flecks of pepper. This is the one that had the jalapeno cheese in it, and it had habanero and a couple different peppers, and then this is the one that just had the aged cheddar. And so I'm going to bring this carefully up to the camera so you can see just how beautiful these corn pies are. See, it's nicely browned on the top, and of course the crust is wonderfully brown. The crust has started to split a little bit, which happens when you're working sometimes with these gluten-free crusts, but it will be yummy. Now, the last thing I would recommend before you enjoy it is you need to let them rest. I would let them rest for at least 10 minutes so they can further set, but you also, I think it's better not totally piping hot because it is so good. If you try to eat it when it's piping hot, you're gonna burn your mouth. So enjoy. I hope you try this recipe. Please let me know down below a couple things. Let me know if you try the recipe, what you think. If you try any different cheese, let's share the different cheeses that really work out well in this. And also, if you do something different with your sweet corn, please let us know, like, what's your favorite dish? I would love to get more feedback from you on the things that you do with sweet corn, especially in the summer when it's perfect. But do let me know if you try this. I hope you enjoy it. This is actually can be great as either an entree with a salad and maybe even some crusty bread, or just even this in a salad would be totally fine. Some people might prefer that for a light lunch, or what we do usually is we will have this as a side dish. I'm gonna be grilling some pork tenderloin tonight. We'll have this, and then we'll have a salad on the side, or another veggie you could always do. So it makes a nice side dish because it's luscious, but you know, at that point a little goes a long way. Or it's great as a main entree. So do try it and enjoy until we eat again. This is Philly.